You know those moments, right, when you get service that's just exceptional. Like they knew what you needed before you did.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Effortless almost.
And in the world of luxury hotels, one name always seems to come up, the Ritz-Carlton.
Definitely. They've built quite the reputation.
So today we're doing a deep dive. We want to understand what really makes their approach to quality tick.
Right. And we've got this great source you shared, a case study report of the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company. It's from a quality engineering course project at Yashar Universitesi.
Yeah, put together by Aisha Burel-Guslu, Asel Selimova, Hichul Chung, and Umur Uzunkaya, with Dr. Efthimia Stay-Ayu guiding them. Seems like a pretty thorough look.
It really does. Gives us a window into their systems, their strategies, the whole picture.
So our mission today is, well, pretty simple. Let's unpack this report, figure out the core of Ritz-Carlton's quality, what works.
And maybe what doesn't always work. Or, the challenges they run into trying to keep those standards sky high.
Exactly. So let's start big picture. Their business strategy. The report mentions the first Ritz, Paris, 1898. Wow, that's history.
It really is. And right from the get-go, the strategy was about, well, two main things. Amazing personalized service and just pure luxurious elegance.
Makes sense. And keeping that consistent as they went global, that must be the tricky part.
For sure. The report breaks their strategy down into like four main pillars.
Okay, what are they?
So there's that super personalized customer approach, a big focus on their employees' training, development, all that.
Right.
Then a really strong commitment to quality standards, obviously. And finally, how they position themselves firmly in that luxury space.
That all tracks with the brand image, definitely.
And what's interesting is their definition of customer. It's broader than you might think.
How so? Not just the guests.
No, not just the guests. Internally, anyone who gets work from another department is also a customer. So like, housekeeping depends on laundry, making laundry's output critical to housekeeping success.
Huh. That's smart. So everyone has skin in the game, quality-wise, because someone else down the line is counting on them.
Exactly. It fosters that internal accountability.
Okay, so then the external customers, the guests, the report says it's a mix. High-income folks, but also others looking for, like, a special treat.
Yeah, a pretty wide portfolio. From the usual luxury travelers, international visitors, but also people from different backgrounds just seeking that unique Ritz-Carlton experience.
Which means their idea of quality has to hit the mark for all sorts of expectations.
Precisely. It can't be one size fits all.
So how do customers define quality, according to this report? What are they looking for?
Well, number one seems to be personalization, making it feel special, meeting expectations. The report actually quotes their credo.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. It's pretty powerful. Something about genuine care and comfort, highest mission.
Right. Finest personal service, fulfill even the unexpressed wishes and needs of our guests. That last part.
Unexpressed wishes and needs. That's aiming high. That's proactive.
Totally. Anticipating needs before the guest even voices them. That's a huge part of the quality perception.
And what else? The report mentioned something about fixing problems quickly.
Yes, instant pacification, they call it. If something does go wrong, how fast and effectively they fix it is key to the guest's quality judgment.
Okay, and that ties into their DQIS, Dynamic Quality Information System.
Exactly. Employees log issues, they're empowered to fix them on the spot, and then later, quality specialists analyze that DQIS data to spot trends.
So fix it now, learn from it for later. Makes sense.
Definitely. Customers also naturally expect professionalism, cleanliness, attention to detail. Little things matter.
The report mentioned guest feedback specifically on room cleaning, right?
It did. And also the Ritz-Carlton basics, these internal guidelines. They stress that everyone's responsible for cleanliness and personal appearance, grooming. That's all part of the professional image.
You expect that at a luxury hotel, but it seems they really formalize it.
They do. And overall satisfaction, obviously. Did the guest enjoy their stay? The credo mentions the experience should enliven the senses, instill well-being.
Right. And the nice gyms, the fancy dining, those amenities contribute too.
Absolutely. But you can't forget the people element. Staff courtesy, professionalism, that's massive.
The report detailed their 3 steps of service. What were those again?
Okay, so step 1, a warm, genuine greeting using the guest's name. Step 2, anticipate and fulfill their needs. Step 3, a fond farewell. Again, using the name. It's about that personal connection.
Simple steps, but probably hard to do consistently well every single time.
Very true. And that leads to the last point, consistency. Guests expect the same high quality, whether they're at a Ritz-Carlton in New York or Tokyo.
And the report says that comes down to their training, a 30-day program.
Yeah, a standardized 30-day process. They use this tell, show, do, review method, plus manager assessment and certification. It's designed to ensure everyone delivers service the Ritz-Carlton way.
Okay, so that's the customer view. Now, let's dig into why they have this reputation. The report talks about their gold standards. Sounds foundational.
It really is. Think of it as their quality constitution. It includes the credo we mentioned.
The mission statement.
Yep. And their motto, we are gentlemen and ladies serving gentlemen and ladies. That sets the tone of respect, right?
It does. Dignity on both sides of the interaction.
Then the 3 steps of service we just covered, and also something called the 20 Ritz-Carlton Basics. These are like specific do's and don'ts for employees, concrete behaviors.
So these aren't just posters on the wall, they're actively used.
Supposedly, yes. And a big part of making them real is employee empowerment. Starts with hiring. They use this targeted selection process since 1987.
Using personality profiles to find people who fit their service culture.
Exactly. They're looking for that inherent service orientation. Then orientation, a 2-day seminar for everyone. Doesn't matter the job. Everyone gets the same core message.
Instilling the philosophy from day one.
Right. And then that 30-day training and certification we talked about. But it doesn't stop there. There's ongoing coaching, daily team lineups where they reinforce the principles. It's meant to be continuous.
Sounds like a very deliberate culture-building effort.
It does. And beyond the people side, there's this organizational commitment to quality. The report says they're constantly gathering employee feedback.
So they listen to their staff.
Seems like it. And quality is pushed from all management levels. They apparently try to tackle any management roadblocks to quality. It's not just a frontline thing.
And I found this interesting, their dual goal. Not just avoiding defects, but actively creating positive customer satisfaction.
Yeah, it's not just no mistakes, it's create a great experience.
Yeah.
They even involve employees in Six Sigma projects for process improvement.
And senior managers spending over a quarter of their time on quality. That's significant.
It shows priority. Plus, they reward employees for improvement ideas, for good guest feedback.
Yeah.
It closes the loop.
Okay, so that's the external reputation built on internal systems. How does Ritz-Carlton itself define quality internally? What's their own perspective?
Well, the report suggests it boils down to commitment. Top to bottom, everyone aligned on the same goals. And those gold standards are the bedrock of that internal view.
So the credo internally means this is our highest mission, care and comfort.
Precisely. And the motto reinforces that professional respect among colleagues, too, not just towards guests.
And the 3 steps are more than a checklist?
Yeah, internally, they represent the philosophy of interaction. Welcome, anticipate, farewell is how they embody the brand values.
Got it. So their formal quality policy, is it basically just summarizing all this?
Pretty much. The report says it's built on the credo, motto, 3 steps, and fleshed out by the 20 basics.
Emphasizing the warm welcome, anticipating needs, positive goodbyes.
And owning complaints, keeping things spotless, positive interactions, all those key behaviors.
And it's reinforced through the training, the empowerment, the TQM stuff.
Exactly. It's meant to be a living policy, not just words on paper.
Okay, so they have this impressive framework, but no system's perfect, right? The report then gets into the actual problems they recorded.
Right. This is where the rubber meets the road. They tracked 540 problems over a period across 12 categories. That's quite a bit of data.
It is. And to make sense of it, they used a Pareto chart. Can you briefly explain that?
Sure. Think 80-20 rule. A Pareto chart helps you see which few causes are responsible for most of the problems. It stacks up the defect categories from most frequent to least frequent.
So you focus on the big hitters first. Smart.
Exactly. Identify the vital few. And the report's Pareto analysis pointed to 4 main areas needing attention first.
Which were?
Arm clean, pretty clearly room cleaning issues. Then room assignment problems. Incorrect reservation mistakes. And fee not answer, phone calls not being picked up.
Okay, so cleaning, assignments, bookings, and phone answering, those accounted for the bulk of the problems.
Apparently so. Focusing there gives them the best bang for their buck in terms of improvement efforts.
Now, to see if their processes were stable, they use control charts. Part of that DQIS system again?
Yep. They track errors recorded in DQIS. The challenge mentioned in the report was variable occupancy and feedback levels, meaning the amount of data wasn't the same each day.
So they couldn't use standard charts.
Right. They used attribute charts. specifically a P-chart. It tracks the proportion of non-conforming units, or in this case, maybe the proportion of days with any defects recorded or defects above a certain threshold. It adjusts for the varying sample size.
Okay, and what did the first P-chart show?
With 328 data points.
It showed 14 points that were out of control outside the statistically calculated limits. Meaning on those 14 occasions, the variation wasn't just random chance. There was likely a specific, identifiable reason, an assignable cause for the spike in defects. The process wasn't statistically stable.
Got it. So things were happening that were messing up the system predictability. Exactly. They supposedly took action, then ran the analysis again on 314 data points. Still had issues, 8 points out of control this time.
Better, but not stable yet.
Right. It took until the fourth analysis, using 305 data points, before all the points fell within the control limits. That suggests they finally got the process to a more stable, predictable state.
It shows improvement takes time and, well, persistence. You have to keep measuring and adjusting.
Absolutely. It's that continuous improvement cycle in action.
So let's talk about those assignable causes, the specific reasons for those out-of-control points. What did they find?
Well, an assignable cause is something you can ideally pinpoint. Not just random noise, but say a specific equipment failure, a training gap on a certain shift, a new procedure causing confusion.
Things you can actually fix.
Hopefully. The first chart flagged 14 of these. The report highlighted the top 3 defect types linked to these causes. 25 instances were room cleaning issues, 21 were booking errors, and 17 were unanswered phones.
And they had details, like specific examples.
Yeah, things like a specific item missed during cleaning, a mistake on the final bill, the message light on the phone not working. And crucially, they linked these to dates, days of the week, and even the hotel's occupancy level that day.
Ah, so you can start seeing potential patterns, like maybe problems spike on busy Saturdays?
Exactly. The second chart, after the first round of fixes, still had 8 assignable causes. Room cleaning was still up there with 12 instances, unanswered phones had 11, and room allocation issues had 5. Again, with dates and occupancy data.
Still seeing cleaning and phones as recurring themes.
Definitely. And the third chart had just one outlier point, March 6, 1997, a Thursday. 5 defects total that day, with room cleaning being the most frequent again, with 2 cases.
Okay, so the data clearly points towards certain operational areas being more prone to issues, especially cleaning and communication.
It seems so. Now, the report also goes into capability analysis. This is about seeing if the process, even if stable, is actually capable of meeting the required quality standards or specifications.
So stable doesn't necessarily mean good enough?
Exactly. You could have a stable process that consistently produces too many defects. Since they're counting defects, attribute data, they use the Poisson distribution for this capability analysis.
Okay, and what did the capability report show? There were different charts mentioned.
Right. The U chart, tracking defects per unit over time, mostly stayed within limits, but it had several red points spiking above the upper limit, and a really noticeable spike near the end of the period they looked at.
Suggesting periods of much higher defect rates.
Yep. Then the Poisson plot, basically checking if the data fits the expected statistical pattern, showed it mostly did. But again, there's a significant outlier way off the trend.
Something unusual happened there.
Seems like it. The cumulative DPU chart, that's defects per unit, averaged over time, started high, came down and stabilized, but then showed that same sharp spike at the end. The average DPU was about 3.28.
Meaning, on average, about 3.28 defects per unit, whatever that unit is, maybe per guest day or per day.
Something like that, yeah. And the histogram, just showing the distribution, confirmed that while most times the defect count was low, there were definitely cases with much higher counts, those outliers dragging the average up.
So the overall picture from the capability analysis is mixed. Generally okay, but prone to significant deviations.
That's a good way to put it. The report summary basically says, investigate those high defect spikes, maybe check if the Poisson model is always the best fit, work on reducing that average DPU, and maybe set more realistic targets based on this data.
Right. Don't just aim for 0 defects if the current process averages over 3. Set achievable goals first.
Makes sense. So putting all this data together, the Pareto, the control charts, the capability, what potential root causes did the report suggest?
Well, connecting the dots, the high number of room cleaning defects made them wonder about consistency. Maybe variability in how well training sticks or how closely the gold standards for cleaning are followed day to day.
Or maybe not enough supervisor checks, spot checks.
Would be. They also raised that interesting point about instant pacification.
Yeah, the idea that fixing problems immediately, while good for the guest, might stop them from digging deeper into why the problem happened systemically.
Exactly. Maybe less incentive for standardized defect analysis across the board if the immediate fire is put out. They also speculated if maybe the quality specialists needed more advanced analytics training.
Hmm, that's possible. Focusing too much on immediate resolution might mask underlying process flaws.
The report also looked at time trends, found higher defects midweek, like Wednesday and especially on weekends.
Okay, so peak periods seem to be trouble spots.
Fair guess. Potentially insufficient staffing during those busy times, leading to rushed cleaning, maybe the front desk being too swamped to answer phones quickly, reservation or room assignment errors under pressure.
That fits. More pressure, fewer resources per guest, more chances for things to slip through the cracks.
And they also saw a correlation with occupancy. Charts showed that as occupancy went up, total defects tended to trend upwards too.
Which, again, points to strain on the system during busy periods. It's not necessarily linear, but the trend suggests capacity or resource allocation might be a factor.
Okay, so based on all that analysis, the problems, the potential causes, what did the report propose they actually do? What were the improvement projects?
They laid out 5 main ones. First, establish realistic quality targets. Basically, use the historical data from DQIS to set achievable goals, say, aiming for less than 1 DPU per day for critical stuff, instead of just 0.
And communicate those clearly.
Yes, communicate them, get buy-in, reinforce them in briefings, link them back to the credo, and keep reviewing and adjusting them based on new data.
Makes sense. What's number 2?
Process standardization and documentation. Get really detailed standard operating procedures, SOPs, written down for the critical tasks, cleaning, check-in, handling complaints. Make sure they align with the gold standards.
Like step-by-step guides with quality checks built in.
Exactly. And then systematic training on these SOPs, workshops, simulations, the works, plus ongoing coaching to make sure people stick to them. Instill the procedures and the culture.
Okay, third.
Third and fourth are closely linked, really about monitoring and reacting faster. Strengthen real-time monitoring systems and address high variability and outliers.
So better dashboards, live data.
Yeah, digital dashboards pulling from DQIS so managers can see defect rates in real time. Set up automatic alerts for spikes.
So if cleaning defects suddenly jump, an alert goes out.
Precisely. And then have quick response teams ready to jump in, investigate what's causing the spike, and fix it fast. It's about catching those outliers, those big deviations we saw in the capability analysis, and tackling their root causes immediately.
Much more proactive than waiting for a weekly report.
Definitely. And the fifth project.
Continuous improvement through Lean and Six Sigma. Basically, formally use methodologies like Six Sigma's DMAIC cycle, define, measure, analyze, improve control, to systematically tackle defects in those problem areas like cleaning and reservations, and use Lean to cut waste, streamline things.
So embedding that continuous improvement mindset using proven tools.
Right. It's about making improvement an ongoing structured process, not just reacting to crises.
So wrapping this all up, what this deep dive shows us is, well, Ritz-Carlton has this amazing foundation, right? The gold standards, the focus on people. It's genuinely impressive.
No question. Their reputation is built on something real.
But the data, the actual defect data from this report, shows that even they face challenges keeping things perfect all the time. Room cleaning, getting reservations right, answering the phone, these seem to be persistent hurdles.
Yeah, those areas kept popping up in the analysis.
And the proposed improvements really point towards needing a more rigorous, data-driven approach. Setting realistic goals based on their actual performance, standardizing processes more thoroughly, monitoring things in real time, and using structured methods like Six Sigma to keep getting better.
It really drives home that even for the best in the business, quality isn't a destination. It's a continuous journey. You can't rest on your laurels.
Absolutely. Constant vigilance, constant refinement.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Thinking about Ritz-Carlton's dedication to service, what parts of quality matter most to you when you stay somewhere? Is it the perfect room, the instant problem solving, that feeling of being anticipated?
Good question. And maybe also, how could these lessons, the importance of data, realistic targets, consistent processes apply outside of hotels, in any service industry, really?
Yeah, how do you balance those high standards we all want with the practical need to constantly measure, adapt, and improve? Something to chew on.